Oh, we lost CJ.
Still here.
There he is.
There he is.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Wednesday night. It's another episode of Sawdust Talk. I am Braden with Little Bug Woodworking. I'm in Omaha, Nebraska. It is finally above 0 degrees here, which is great because I can wear a t-shirt in the shop again because my heat pump actually pumps heat now. I'm really excited about that. But yeah, I do a little bit of everything and just kind of wing it. So, TJ.
I'm TJ with TJT Workshop. I may be dropping off and coming back in. I've got the word go with an exclamation point just covering most of my screen. But I'm based in St. Louis, Missouri. We had a balmy 20-something degrees for a brief period of time today. That was exciting. So I am not in the shop again this evening. But yeah, most of the woodworking that I do takes place on a lathe. I'm one of those weirdos, but I've got 30 years of doing flat work and other fun stuff like metal work and 3D printing and all kinds of good stuff under my belt. So happy to talk about dang near anything with just about anybody.
And before we get into our very special guest tonight, we want to take a second. We want to thank, a special guest. We want to take a second. We want to thank our sponsors. We are excitedly sponsored by Surf Prep and George Supply Co. If you need abrasives, not in personality, but like actual sandpaper, Surf Prep is the place to go. Like, it's awesome. So, and then when you want to make all that stuff stick together, George Supply Co. for all your promotional needs and CA glue. Stuff sticks and it's great. So, thanks to them. We appreciate them. Chris from A Glimpse Inside.
Hey guys.
What's up, man?
That's me. I'm Chris Burton. I run a YouTube channel and a website called A Glimpse Inside. If you want a little bit of overview, I did over 2 decades of retail management. I was a bakery manager for a long time in a company called Public Supermarkets. You guys don't shop there because we're not in your states yet. But it's a pretty big company down here in the Southeast, and Public Subs are kind of what they're known for. And funny thing, over my career of being a bakery manager, I was a working manager. I was in production all the time. And I calculated that even like mini loaves and stick breads and all that, I've probably made and baked probably 1.5 million loaves of bread. Pretty crazy stat. But it's been a wild ride that I never thought was possible to get to where I am now in this space where, I run the YouTube channel, but that really isn't the lion's share of what is able to put food on the table. It's developing products and putting them through a CNC and a laser, and hopefully those products have done justice in helping people in the shops kind of be more efficient with what they do, and they don't have to worry about organizing the things that are kind of that everybody has, like clamps and glues and shelving and all that. So that's kind of where we specialize in. And it's been a wild ride, and it continues to be. And I want to thank both of y'all for having me on. So, yeah, we can get right into this thing and talk about whatever you guys want to figure out. Apparently, Braden thinks that I have some sorcery with CNC with no vacuum and no tabs. And I'll divulge how I do that here in a little bit. But, I just want to thank you guys for having me on, and it's going to be a good night.
Yeah, it's sorcery. I almost don't believe it if I didn't see it in your videos. But the idea of having a CNC router just spinning thousands of RPM, not just like launching your stuff everywhere. To me, that's mind-boggling. So,
well, there's a school of thought with the CNC. It seems like, and this is again, CNCs are one of the things that are only polarizing if you haven't witnessed or experienced the magic of them yourself. So I used to feel that way. I was like, man, that's like cheating. And then I got one and was overwhelmed with, how am I going to figure this out? I make bread, for God's sakes, and here I am trying to figure out CAD. And I'm like, but you can. If I can do it, anybody can. I know it's cliche to say, but it's very true. And it kind of brings the engineer out of you. Like, I didn't realize I had an engineering mind. I mean, genetics, maybe. My dad's a brilliant mechanical engineer, but not me. So I never worked with him. I never worked for his venture. But anyway, the long and the short of it is that I I've always thought that the narrative of CNC was get it done as fast as possible. I mean, get it dialed in so you can just zip through everything. And that's what I thought at first. And I was having accidents and things where I was trying to go too quick. I realized very, very quickly that if I just slowed down, why do I need to go so fast? Why do I need to go at all these RPM and all these inches per minute? Like, okay, so I'll save a grand total of maybe an hour and 10 minutes in a full day's worth of work. It doesn't really matter. But the possibility of slowing yourself down and figuring out, like, really finesse CNCing limits using a router bit to finish things, limits a lot of sanding, limits the amount of, the multi-tool to cut out tabs. It took away all that. So I didn't necessarily need to run everything so fast because I was saving time on the long end. Yeah, the zhizher, right? I was saving time on the long end. So if you want to know like the formula on how to cut things out, like say with 3/4 inch plywood, without tabs or without anything else, I'll tell you. At first, I was experimenting with an 1/8 of an inch bit. I thought the smallest bit to put the most dust in there to give it some rigidity would be the best. And that works flawlessly. I then really dialed it in with a 1/4 inch bit. Now, a 1/4 inch bit just flings sawdust out, and you really can't trap a lot of sawdust with a 1/4 inch bit. But let's just run some numbers. Let's just say a piece of material is 0.70. That's typical 3/4 inch Baltic birch. Okay. I set up in Vetric, or whatever you're going to use, a final cutting path of 3/100ths of an inch more. So 0.73 is where it's going to cut to. And I make sure, however you want to get down to about 0.65 is your choice. 1 pass, 2 passes, 3, whatever you got. But get down to about 0.65 and run a pass there perfectly. And then do your last pass at about 0.08. Okay, does that make sense? Doing that by mitigating some of the dust collection to leave some dust in there. You got to kind of tweak with that. And don't go any faster than 75 inches per minute. And you'll be surprised at what happens. Now, I do a lot of cuts. I'll show you a couple pieces here. So just to give you some examples of the kind of stuff that does this, I cut pieces this small out without tabs. Pretty crazy. With these kind of intricacies, this is why you don't want to go so fast, especially with a aluminum extrusion CNC like I have. It's not cast iron. It will tend to bounce if you go too quick, if you change directions too fast. The machine will kind of jiggle a little bit, and it's not a design flaw. It's just the way it is. And then stuff like this, right? This is like a tool holder. So you can cut all this stuff out with minimal sanding. I mean, this was maybe sanded on my upside down sander mat for maybe about 5 seconds, and that's it. So the long and short of it is, if you can do those numbers, experiment, try it out, you'll have a lot of fun with it, and it'll really cause you to have a lot of fun not prepping everything, with cutting things off and routering or flush trimming and all that. So that's it. That's the ticket right there.
You had a cute pet name for the wiggle cutter. What did you call that guy?
The zhizher.
The zhizher?
That's the sound.
Zhizher.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right, that makes sense.
So it's like,
no, I got you. I was just making sure I heard you right.
Yeah. That's something that's from the Duresta camp. So yeah.
Well, I guess the logic makes sense. I mean, the time that you would lose in your inches per minute, you're making up by not having to do a bunch of finish work. So I mean, it's if nothing else, if you break even, you're looking at 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. So
it's better than breaking even, because as a sole proprietor, I can go do something else. I can go be more productive somewhere else. I could pack orders. I can organize this place. I can go design. I can whatever, go change a diaper, for God's sakes, whatever. So. So yeah, I mean, I can always go find something to do. I don't need to. I mean, I get it. If you're a CNC operator and that's your job for a big company, and your job is to put out stuff, and you have a guy to take the stuff, whatever. I get it. Why you want to go that fast, and you want good quality bits, where you can find at a glimpseinside.org, by the way. And that's been a fun venture too, is developing router bits that, allow such clean cuts and are able to do this with me. So, but that's for another topic.
Well, and it's crazy that like this much math and effort and focus goes into like just the router bits themselves, because I'm like heck, I just got my latest delivery in Speetool, Amazon, $15 per bit bits, and I they don't last as long, and I totally get that, but to me the cost analysis between just what how cheap they are and swapping them out, but
Sure.
in my mind a bit is a bit. So
yeah, it's not. You probably said other things that were false like that, but that's pretty high up there. The Amazon bits, I'll put it to you this way. Let's say I cut, I'll give you an example. One of these, I can get about 80 of these out of a full sheet of plywood, okay? With an Amazon bit, I always worry, fresh bit, will I get through the full thing? Is it going to break? And it does occasionally. If I get through a full one, then I'll have to program G code to only cut line by line, because I know it's going to break in the second one 100% of the time. It's something about that. It's not hard enough. I know you can't anneal a bit. It's basically ceramic. It's carbide. It's compressed at 50,000 psi. They're not made of steel because they need to break.
Right.
If something's going to go wrong. But the bits that I've got I developed with Southeast Tool, who I was actually, the craziest story about that, I was actually at one of the shows at IWF, and I got to talking with them, and they were like, we're big industrial. We do bits that are this big as your head. We don't have anything. I've seen your videos. We don't have anything in the hobbyist space. Looks like you're getting into more of the CNC stuff with that penguin you had. And I was like, damn, that's cool. You know all that. And he's like, well, you want to try to partner up? I said, absolutely. So 8 months, we developed 2 bits, a 1/4 inch and an 1/8 inch compression, that have specific geometry that on a smaller microscopic level is different than I think anything out there. I really can't even divulge what it is, but those bits last an incredible amount of time, to the point where I actually got a really awesome shout out from Izzy. He's like, I don't know what you got in these things, like fairy dust or whatever, but they're fast and they're the longest lasting and cleanest cutting bits I've ever used. He put that on Instagram, and I was like over the moon. Like, that's a pretty cool thing, someone like him. Anyway, so they're great. They will outlast, I think, anything. And I have impeccable customer service. If you make a mistake early on in the bit's life, I'll help you out.
Well, if nothing else, a lot of what I do is plywood, and plywood just eats through every bit that I've ever used. So if I can
that's what these are developed for. Yeah,
I'll try it out. I'm okay being wrong.
I'm gonna bring it with my workbench. Okay, so
yeah, I was gonna say you're. So just bring a pocket full of bits, and just like slide them on the table, and it'll be cool.
See, in terms of running a business, we want inside information on this. The bits are one of the more expensive things and have one of the worst margins. It's so true. Router bits on the whole, you're going to find that the markup's about double. Okay, but the issue is that there are certain companies out there that are marketing their bits lower and lower, and they're almost getting to the point where they're getting so low that they're breaching an industry code called minimum allowable pricing. And so I have to compete with that plus free shipping, and it's bad. So it's still worth it for sure, because they're good to have. Hell, I need them to manufacture. So, but they are the highest quality bits I can find. I'm just trying to figure out a way to get some of these other companies to, like, I don't know, play nice.
Play nice in the sandbox.
Correct. Just because you're now manufacturing your own bits now in the back of your warehouse doesn't mean you can charge less for them. Like, it's messing up the industry. It's Amazoning small businesses. So, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. I won't rant.
Look them in the eyes and tell them to stop. Just go. Hey.
Yeah.
Cut it out.
No, I can't really do that. And again, I'm not going to mention any companies here, but a crazy story about that. Holy moly! The moment I announced these bits, like, I got a phone call from another company, asking what the hell they did wrong. Like, what happened? Why did you go do this? And I said, they perform exactly like your spec sheet says. I just needed better than your spec sheet. So over the last 8 months, I developed a bit that works better than what your bit can do. And that's it. Well, how'd you do it? Is it in the geometry? I said, have a good day.
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you want me to tell you? You know, I cannot divulge anything about this. It's like, you know, it's like a Coke recipe or something. I mean, it's not that
Right.
big, but
It's quite literally
what
like the
are
Coke recipe.
yeah, what are the 7 or the 11 herbs and spices? What are they?
right. Yeah, I mean, you could taste those and try to figure them out. But Home Skillet could buy a few and put them in a scanner and compare the two AutoCAD designs in 3D and figure it out. And it's not rocket science, you know. He's got all the technology to buy what I have and then figure it out. But anyway,
Makes you rad and them 2 steps behind. Sorry for you.
whatever. They're still making more money than I am. That's okay though. We'll get there.
There's always tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe your hour-long appearance on Sawdust Talk will be just the catalyst you need
Yes.
to fill the
We are-
books.
Hopefully so.
Yeah, we are
and
career
have
creators.
stockists just begging you
Yeah.
to
yeah,
put
yeah,
you
I'm sure.
front and center.
I'm sure. I envision one day like that the router bit business of what I'm doing will be a pretty substantial part, because the plan is to actually not always do CNC work, because it's not really anything I'm like hugely passionate about. What I'm passionate about in this whole space is designing something and seeing it work. I don't care how it gets made. The fact that you can do it 2-dimensionally on either Lightburn or Vectric, whatever you want to use, and then it work. And then as you start to prototype more and more, you start to get it right more and more on the first, second, third try. A lot of times prototypes are tough to come by because you got to see it in real space, put it together. You go, okay, let me tweak. And then I have to think about how a bit's going to perform basically in the life of it being brand new, in the life of it cutting throughout maybe its midlife, and then when it's near the end of a bit's life, it cuts differently. And you've probably experienced that. Tolerances get tighter the older a bit is because the cutting edges aren't so sharp, right? And so we're talking like hundredths and thousandths of an inch, but that matters. So I design everything to have perfect tolerances when a bit is 50% old. So, and I've had customers tell me, hey man, I got a tool holder and it was like a perfect fit. The next one I got was kind of loose, and the next one I got seemed to be a little bit tighter. And that's exactly right. I can't figure out, or nor do I have the time to figure out like, okay, a brand new bit gets this geometry and this SVG and this whatever. And then when it gets to a certain cycle, it actually has to change. So it's just what I've come up with. And the difference is only, like a box joint isn't like a tolerance of 0. It's a tolerance that not that I won't tell you, I just can't remember what it is.
That's okay.
But
You've been
trade
changing
secret.
diapers, man. I can't remember what day of the week it is most of the time. So
yeah. Good. Yeah, diapers, man. Oh man, I'm over that. Been doing it for 7 years. Yeah, almost 8 years.
that's a streak. That's
Yeah,
a
it's a
streak.
streak,
You're going
man.
for the high score, aren't you?
Yeah, trying. So, but yeah.
So how did you? I mean, so a lot of your stuff is focused around like the French cleat system, which is, I mean, like every garage should have French cleats.
Sure.
I'm interested in what kind of sales do you do of, like, I see them behind you, just strips of French cleat material. Like that seems like an odd product because it's so simple to just run through a table saw.
So if you want to take a guess, not that you study my site or anything like that, but my number one seller by a long shot is the upside down sander holder. It's a 6-piece design. It's got a 7-piece design. It's got 6 hex bolts or wing star knobs. It all goes together, pretty easily. You have to glue and brad it together, about 3 pieces together. But it works well. And that thing has, the best thing that ever happened to this business was woodpeckers kind of knocking off that kind of product. And I got so many emails, and we did for that month of June, we did over $30,000 in sales in that one month just because of the woodpeckers' attention. which was nuts. I didn't sleep. It was horrible. I mean, I was exhausted after that much. The kids were not in school, so there was no bus picking them up. It was take them to camp for 5.5 hours. That was my work day for 5.5 hours. It was crazy. But the number 2 selling item are those cleats. They're right there. There's a bunch of them stacked up. Yeah, you see. Yeah, right there. Yeah, right there. And then there's some underneath. Is what I'm moving the wrong way. There's some underneath. Yeah, right there. Yeah, I can't do this. Right there. Okay. So that's the number 2 item. That item at $24.50 for 8 feet of cleats. It's a 5.5-inch piece bisected in half at a 45-degree angle. Those I cut them in half at 4 feet because I can't ship 8 feet. That's insane. I was shipping them in 4 sections at 2 feet, and that was kind of weird. I got some people were like, "Can you make them a little longer?" So we do that now. But yeah, that's the number 2 item, man. That item, I think generated, I don't know, 27 grand in sales for the year, something like that. It's because people don't want to do it. People don't want to tilt their saw to 45 and run this heavy material through. And how my system works, it makes it pretty easy because when I get a delivery off of a truck, typically it's either like a dozen or 20 sheets of plywood. I put them on a bore centipede, and I go out there and I put a track saw and I cut them in half. And then I store all those underneath the Avid, right? Sorry. Underneath, and I have readily available these 4x4 pieces of plywood ready to go, which pretty to cut into cleats because they're just ready to go. So there is like a method to the process that makes it a bit easier for me. But I think it's just the ease of use. Nobody wants to do it. Again, my products only sell because people don't want to come up with designs or anything for organizational solutions. They just want to get in there and make their cutting boards. They want to turn their bowls. They want to make their furniture, whatever it is, So it's a little niche, and I've grown to love it, actually. So it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I guess that makes a lot of sense. I mean, yeah, I've never thought of a time where I was making a French cleat where I was like, F yeah, like this is it. I made it. So yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Right.
It just seems like such a simple product to sell, but
I don't know. His might have all of his corners nice and rounded over, and they're probably pleasant to touch. And
it's not 100% sanded, but yes, I do run. I take a sanding sponge to the edge of all of them, and then I do chip off that little sharp edge. So it's a process. I have I tell my wife, I'm like, look, man, today it's gonna be cleat day. I'm gonna come in tired. I'm gonna cut 8 sheets, and I'm gonna be a mess. And my right shoulder is gonna be killing me because I'm gonna be pushing these things through over and over again. And anytime you turn your blade, the resistance is that much greater to push something through. As much of the nano coating technology I have from carbon and all that good stuff, it's slick. And I honestly don't know if I could do it with this. Isn't a sponsored thing from them, but that stuff is so slick. It makes woodworking so much easier. But yeah, it's just one of those days where I come in a mess and I'm just like, I find a recliner and I pass out. Cleat day.
Cleat day. Well, and I mean, yours they're all Baltic birch, aren't they?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I've experimented with different materials. In fact, I did a whole YouTube about trying to find what was inside all these different plywoods, about 9 different plywoods, and what they weigh. Baltic is so heavy; it weighs double the amount of the same shape and size as your Vietnamese stuff from Home Depot. So I mean, it's insane. Like a Baltic piece will weigh a pound, same shape, would be half pound, and I just don't trust it. I don't trust the the fact that like what you see. Let me see if I can show you. Like these countertops here, they're cantilevered, right? Like this countertop here, excuse me, is just cantilevered out, and it's all in Baltic, and I can stand on these things. And I'm upwards of like 260 right now, regrettably, but yeah, I'm working on it. I actually saw my doctor, not to get into that too much, but I'm like, what the heck is going on here? She's like, you think you're addicted to food? I'm like, yeah, I'm addicted to food. I was a bakery manager, for God's sakes, for how long?
Yeah, it's pretty important for life also. Like, I think most people are,
it is. It's the only addiction you can have where you can justify it because you need it to live. Nobody's like, I need this heroin. I can't survive without it. I will die. Well, you might die with that, but you would know.
Need to get some Baltic Birch heroin.
But yeah, so anyway, it's just that strong, and I don't want to. If I need to go to another material, I will. But right now, I don't have to because I can still have access to Baltic in my area.
So when you are purchasing your Baltic, are you running into any of the same supply chain problems that we had because of some other political stuff that happened over the last 2 or 3 years or so that was causing supply chain problems?
Nah, not really. I mean, with some of my dealers, they don't want to deal with whoever to get the Baltic in. At the date of this airing, all of that you're speaking of is getting much better.
That's good. Follow-up question. We've got a bunch of blizzards in Texas, and most of the adhesive that holds a large portion of the ply products that we get in the USA is, that all comes from Texas and Houston.
Texas.
And all that stuff.
Well, I still get the Russian birch. I mean, it's from the motherland still, regardless of, it's a crazy topic. I don't know if it still is, where the vast minority ruin it for the vast majority of people. It's kind of like the way the world works these days. There's a very certain subset of extreme whatever that ruin it for.
Well, yeah, and again, I mean, it was just it's a product that comes from that region.
I get it.
Named after it,
right.
So.
Right, and I do get there's stuff called tiger ply coming out of Indonesia or Malaysia that is shipped to Brazil and then sanctioned to come up here. I don't know, it's weird. But it's
stuff that Ron Paulk's always using in his workbenches and stuff like that.
It might be. If it's not from Russia, this stuff is tiger ply. And instead of having like 13 layers, it has 15. It has an extra 2 layers in there. Really thin, really strong. I did find it had a bunch of thread fibers in it in my test when I put it on the CNC.
When you say thread, do you mean like textile?
I mean, absolutely.
Oh,
nylon threads.
Yeah.
The thumbnail,
I know what you're talking
if you go
about.
to my channel, it's in the thumbnail. The threads are in the thumbnail.
Cool.
But that's throughout the tiger ply, which is great because I'm not lasering that. You can't laser through that nylon crap or that Bondo they put in all that cheap stuff out of Asia. But the ply that I use for my laser is from Murphy out of Oregon. Murphy's Supply out of Oregon, and it's awesome. It's a layer of I guess B grade maple, which is 1 below A, right?
Yeah.
And a solid fir core that's about it's 1/4 inch, but it's a little less, and then another layer of maple. So it's maple, fir, maple, only 3 layers, and it cuts like butter on a laser. But you got to pay up for it. It's like $42 a sheet instead of $17 a sheet, which I could pay for the other stuff, and then have to deal with maybe the laser not cutting through things, the edges being a little charred. You might get a little soot on your hands. This other stuff that I pay up for doesn't soot, and it cuts beautifully. It saves me time, and I just think it's a better product for
no voids throughout.
Hardly any.
That's
Hardly.
so bad. No footballs, nothing crazy like that.
Nothing. And it's got some imperfections in it sometimes. But honestly, they're cool, man. Like, I don't know if I have any in here. Like, some of the imperfections in this maple is like super neat, and they leave it as a design aspect of a random coolness on the side of a panel or something. It's neat. Looks like the growth of the inside of a tree or something, but it's really a defect.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
One thing that I've come to find as like I've gotten more into CNC work and laser work and just building, shop cabinets, things like that is if you're not into building stuff like that or using tools like that, plywood is plywood. Like end of the day, it's 3/4 plywood. You get it from wherever. It's all the same. And then you get down to this level of like, well, I get this size of this type from this manufacturer, and then for this product, I do this from here. Like, it's crazy just how nuanced the differences are in something like plywood.
The quality matters when you are machining, and it matters so much. When you're looking at tolerances and repeatability and all that, you don't want... I mean, some plywood I used to buy from Garnica was coming in at like 0.72 in thickness, and then 0.71 and 0.73. And that difference matters when you have box joints that need to fit perfectly together consistently all the time. You're cutting, 200 tool holders a month, then it needs to work. And I don't have time to sit there and quality control every single batch. I just need to know that it works. And so the stuff I'm getting now is like that. And yeah, but you're right though. It's the difference is massive when you get to this level of doing it with these machines.
Yeah, well, and then when you learn the difference between, BCX, ACX, your Marines, all of that stuff, I mean, that's
right. I still don't know what you're talking about, so I do it professionally, but I don't even know that. So
yeah, again, it's just different grades, different voids.
the BCX, I had one of those bikes growing up. Right?
Yes, you did. They were the ones with the pegs and the gyro on the handlebars.
Right.
Yeah. Well, isn't marine grade plywood like instead of filling in with like footballs, they fill in with like fish?
That's right.
Like just a perch.
This is marine grade plywood. It's my desk. It's amazing. Okay. That's all I gotta say. It's teak and holly.
Teak and holly?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. I Salvage Yard got a pallet of it because a pallet of this $500 a sheet plywood fell and all the edges got just jacked and delaminated. So you could get about 6.5 to 7 feet by 3.5 feet out of each sheet, kind of. And they were sitting on it, and I got 10 of them for $75 a piece.
And so that's a holly veneer with your poplar on the inside of it, or okay.
Yes.
For a second, I was like, that seems like really, really big pieces of holly, and I know mathematically, holly trees exist.
Right. No, it's
like the probability of it being, but yeah, okay. So that's a veneer on top.
Yeah. Teak holly. Yeah, it's a very thin veneer. Actually, it's not that thin, but it's super waterproof. I mean, like I left a scrap of this stuff out by the shop for 2.5 years. It never came delaminated.
That's awesome.
And it was just out in the elements here in Florida. I mean, it got to be 100 degrees some days. It freezes here. What was it? It was 30 degrees this morning. So
I don't believe that. I don't think that's possible. That sounds like
no, it was.
Yeah.
It killed all my tropical plants. All the big.
You guys want to hear my winter nightmare story real quick? I'm gonna jump on my snowbox.
TJ rant.
Okay, so I experienced labor rage yesterday, the likes of which I was not even prepared for. Yes.
You say labor?
Yes.
Can you clarify which form of labor?
I was driving southbound on a major highway yesterday when it was wind chill of -5 bazillion. And my passenger rear tire failed. It gave
blowout.
Yeah, got 7 or 8 holes across the inner wall and outer wall. It failed.
Damn.
And thankfully, I am pretty dang quick with changing a tire, especially on my vehicle. And I just had my scissor jack in the car, and I went and got to it, but the amount of 4-letter words that were muttered by me when I realized I had one knit glove in my car.
Oh, so what'd you do?
I swore a lot.
Did you transfer it?
I put it on my right hand and did it mostly one-handed. Put my other one in my pocket and cursed a lot. But yeah.
All right. That's a great soundbite without context. Oh, dude. If you just say what you just said without knowing this backstory, I think we're gonna you have to meme that up.
Yeah, we'll get that figured out. But yeah, so I was able to get it changed and into the shop. But I was driving to the shop to get my tire changed, and like I was just seeing red because I get the lug nuts off of the car, and every single one of them dropped and fell into the snow. So I had to stick my hands in the snow to pick them all up, right? Get the nuts off of the rim, and the rim is either frozen or cold welded to the car. And I got semi trucks blasting past me every couple of seconds, spraying the car and pushing wind that's already cold.
Wow.
And in my infinite wisdom, I didn't have like a mallet or a hammer in my car to sort of beat the rim off. So I had the pleasure of kicking my suspended rear wheel on my little scissor jack in the snow. And I remember thinking, this is as dumb as I think this is. Like I'm something bad is going to happen, but you know,
are you looking for a camera? Like, where's the camera?
Yeah,
and what's happening?
Exactly. But that was That was my labor rage. I was mad every
sucks.
second.
Yeah, that's well, at least you're okay. I mean, I'm glad you didn't like spin out, get in a wreck.
Yeah. No, it was, I was at highway
Yeah.
speeds, but I quickly wasn't,
Sure. What kind of vehicle? We talking like a
Yeah,
car,
it's
truck?
an '06 Highlander. Nothing crazy.
Okay.
But yeah, and I don't drive.
I mean, you didn't have to divulge the make and model. I was just looking. Make sure.
Yeah. Again,
It was his
I
Ferrari.
drive like an old man in the right lane anyway, so like I didn't really have to go that far once it started making.
Right. It's a 918. It's my 918 Spider. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, my other car's a Modena, so I just.
Yeah.
No, we're good.
It was my It was my
Is
Ducati.
it Modena or is it Modena?
I don't know. I'm not Italian.
I heard Doug DeMuro pronounce it Modena.
Modena?
I can say that just sounds wrong. It doesn't sound right.
I don't know if that was to get people to talk about it, but I was like, "What did you just say?" Modena?
There you go.
It's working.
Who knows? Who knows? I mean, he's a car expert. You guys know who he is? Doug DeMuro. No.
What's the last
Doug
name?
DeMuro. Yeah, DeMuro.
DeMuro. It sounds like somebody that'd be on TV.
He's a car reviewer on YouTube.
Okay.
Crazy story about him.
No, I do know that dude. That dude rules.
Yeah. One of my biggest inspirations on YouTube. The story about him is pretty crazy. You've never heard about this. He started doing quirky reviews on Jalopnik, writing them. Someone said you should do videos, so he started putting videos up of these car reviews, and he points out the quirks and features. And in 2020, he decided to launch a website called Cars and Bids, which is for enthusiast cars from the 80s and up. If you want to buy or sell on a live auction, kind of your cool niche car. Long and the short of it is I think it's the Sherman Group. I don't know the name of the group, but within about 3 years, they gave him $37 million as an investment to become main partner in this website, and all because he started posting videos and he gathered a car cult following, and the dude lived the American dream within about 10 years, and now he's financially free but still does his craft, and he still does the videos and t-shirts and shorts,
but he
and
talks to you like a human being would, right? And that's the best part is that the three of us, we're all geeks and we'll just dive down an internet rabbit hole, but this dude serves it up. I know exactly who you're talking about.
I think it's the best. Who is it? Colin and Samir, the interviewers on YouTube. They interview a bunch of people. They have a great channel as well, but they interviewed him, and I think it's probably their best work. One, I'm interested in what Doug was doing, but the story about it was pretty cool. I remember Doug saying something like, and this is a cool dream for all of us trying to be, an entrepreneur and trying to start a company and this, that, and the other, is he goes, I finally feel like I haven't wasted what I've been able to do in this world, being, who I am and my capability in the world. I finally have been able to provide livings and investments and jobs for many people now with this company, and that to me is the most fulfilling thing in the world. It's not the cars, it's not anything else. It's that I'm using what I think is my efforts and powers for good, and that's a cool statement, man. That would be really a cool place to be, I think. Anyway, it's a good listen, a good watch if you got time.
French Fleet Power for good.
Yes.
Yeah,
what would be like the using French cleat power for evil? What would that look like?
Mounting your neighbor's cabinets upside down on purpose.
Maybe, or selling product that would delaminate in about 6 months and have everything come crashing down. That would be pretty bad.
Pre-drilling all of your French cleats at 14.5 on center.
Yes. Yes. That would be awful. God. Yeah.
I don't get it. It's not lining up. Wait. Are you sure?
There should be a stud here.
I'm not adding another step, man. I'm not adding another step. I don't drill anything for people. I sometimes wonder when I'm sanding for sometimes 6 hours a day. Can I just get these people to sand these pieces when they get them? But it's kind of how I started, and I think I'm not gonna buck the system. So.
Well, it also seems like you're in a good place, and I've got a feeling what you're doing actually brings a fair amount of joy to your world, right?
It does in so many ways. If the fact that we haven't spoke about Workbench Con. You said it was gonna be like 30 minutes worth, but we haven't done it. But the reason I even bring that up, and you say it brings me joy in a lot of ways. So, do either of you two know why I did this? Why I tried to be a full-time content creator?
I don't know, because
No.
making breadsticks 1.5 million in a decade was wearing you down.
Not really. It was okay, but I had to, and I predicate the success about being an entrepreneur or a business owner on a couple of things, and this might be the main one. And there is a you could ask me a million questions about this, but I'm going to tell you right now. So I have my wife of 10 years is disabled. She is only awake about 70 days a year. She has huge chronic fatigue. It's called MECFS. It's like a chronic fatigue syndrome, encephalomyelitis. It's a crazy condition. It affects about 1 million people, where she can't recharge her human battery when she sleeps. So she wakes up exhausted. Anyway, long and short of it is trying to be a guy who's managing a retail space, working 50 hours a week away from home. And then now you have young children. I have a 7-year-old daughter and a 6-year-old son. And they're not typical either. They're pretty heavy on the spectrum. My son is nonverbal. He stims, he screams, he yells all the time. He's a great kid. My wife couldn't do it. My daughter's autistic as well. So, and the long and the short of it is, I was at a crossroads where I would not know how things were going at home at 10 o'clock in the morning. I'd call, nothing. I would have to leave work, come home. I would come home to shitty diapers being all over the place, kids in turmoil, wife passed out. I'm divulging a lot here. I get that. But that's the reality of the situation. And I had to make a move. And I said, you know what? I got this YouTube following. Thank God I started that a little bit ago. Let's just try it. I can't not be home for these kids now. I'm the only person that can do this. And so failure was not an option. That is the biggest motivating factor. I see a lot of people go into this trying to do it. Well, their wife's a teacher and she's got insurance, and we got a little bit of income to fall back on, and they're never motivated enough to get their ass in gear to do exactly what they need to do, because there is a fallback plan. If there's not a fallback plan, you can figure out how to do a pull-up onto a roof if a shark is going to bite you in half, right? So that's the story on why I had to do this. It's not that I really wanted to. I had to. And I was lucky enough to have a YouTube channel that had some mild success that was doing both at the time. I was working full time and doing that. And the product development came because, well, 3 months after going full time, my YouTube channel went from averaging about 1.1 million views a month to averaging 250,000 views a month, a 75% drop. Now, what did that do for AdSense? Took it from 6 to 8 grand a month down to about 1 to 2 a month. It was bad. And I was like, oh shit. I guess I'll pull the cellophane off that CNC and see if I can figure something out. Because I was scared as shit to run it. And so I had to figure it out. That was it. So there you go. There's a glimpse inside for you right there. If you really want to know the truth, I don't talk about it too much. I mentioned it in one video that I miss my wife. She's not the woman I married. She's the most beautiful human being on the planet, but she's dealing with a condition that has taken away everything from her. And in turn, it puts a lot of pressure on us. So, and for those of you, if anyone's watching this who has a family member that is dealing with that thing, you know what I'm talking about, and my heart goes out to you. But it's a motivating factor for sure. And quite frankly, I would never wish it upon anybody, but because of the situation the way it is, I do believe that there's some reasoning on why we're having some mild success in business too. And I just hope and pray that it all works out, and I'll keep working my ass off too. But anyway, there's kind of the elevator speech, kind of what's going on. So
that was a big share, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah. You're very welcome. Maybe I should talk about it more. Maybe I should be, in this day and age where people talk about their feelings. I hate to say it that way, but I mean, we've kind of been, I don't know how old you guys are. I was born in 1980. So it's kind of in my blood to just kind of make sure you figure it out.
I was born in 82. I know that generation.
Yeah. 80 as well, or 82?
I was born in 82.
Oh, okay. And
yes, not
born
as well.
You were born in the
2
90s,
years later.
Brandon?
I was born in 90.
In 90? Close enough. So the long and the short of it is that maybe I should open up a little bit more about it. It might be interesting for people to hear. I just don't want to ever sound, and I hope me mentioning it here isn't me sounding like I want someone to feel sorry. I don't. I tell you, man, let me ask you both a real question, right? We all have our problems in life, right? We all have our challenges, our circumstances, whatever you want to call it. Would you take all of your issues you have in your life and throw them into a pot and get rid of them all? But you had to take someone else's out at random. Could be better, could be worse. Would you take yours back?
No, man, my life is dope and I do dope stuff. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, no, and I
Right.
found a really great counselor in the last year. So like, yeah, no, I
Oh,
totally got
fantastic.
it. Yeah.
Which I've heard helps. I'm probably a poster child for needing probably to talk to somebody, but you know, I mean, I don't know. I'm a pretty resilient dude, and I you know, I could take on most things that come this way. But it's definitely been a challenging time for sure. I have just truly believed if you're led to it, you can be led through it by whatever you believe in, and we're not
Oh,
going to get into all that
absolutely.
either. But yeah, so it's good. It's good to. It's actually great to come hang out and talk to you guys for a little bit too. But what I mean, do you think? I don't know. First time I ever really asked anybody this that isn't my family. You know, I mean, is this something worth hearing? Is it
So
the challenges of this kind of thing? I mean, I don't know.
Okay, so if you don't tell people about this, you'll still be you, right?
Yeah.
And if you do tell people about this, you'll still be you, right?
Yeah, nothing's going to change that way. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did you just answer your own question?
Maybe.
Okay, cool.
Maybe. But what I'm thinking though is that in this day and age where, you know, I don't know, will it be looked at? Hey, man, thanks for sharing, or yeah, okay, we're here for woodworking.
now I think that there's absolutely an audience out there that is just into our content for the woodworking. Like that's all they care about. And
Right.
that's kind of the truth with any real, niche or anything like that. But
Sure.
I think that we see it every single day. We talk about the community of makers, not just woodworkers, but just makers in general. We talk about how important this community is. We talk about it every single week. I mean, Workbench Con is cool. We're all going to have a lot of fun. There's a lot of value to our businesses, but in the end, I think 80% of the people are going there because they just want to connect back with the community and kind of recharge and get inspired and things like that. So I work with a lot of people, and selling myself and like just being a real person instead of, what they would consider like a telemarketer or something like that is important. And I see that in my job. I see that in your content. I see that in your products. I mean, end of the day, sharing who you are, it humanizes you, which we're all people. If we didn't want to be people doing this, we would just be Amazon, and nobody gives a shit about Amazon.
Yeah.
So
we do business with people that we know, like, and trust. Right.
That's true. And
sharing your story and reminding people that not only are you someone who has a business, but you're also somebody that they can know, like, and trust. I don't see a downside.
Probably not. And I remember in the genesis of this channel, a lot of the earlier comments were like, "This is cool, man. It's just an average dude in his garage doing his thing." And then when I started the business, it was kind of the same thing. But as I've gotten into more digital fabrication, and it seems like the channel is taking a paradigm shift to something totally different. I worry that I'm losing that human aspect, and maybe I should kind of, open that back up. The only metric I have to see if this is going to be an okay topic or not is, believe it or not, Mark Rober. You guys know who he is, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's got a series of videos that are massively popular, from squirrel mazes to blood in the water from a shark. If you look at his library there, his view count is huge. Except for one video that's the truth about my son. And he's got an autistic teenage son who's about to become an adult. And that video has, like, I don't know, last I checked, it's doing well, don't get me wrong. But it's one of the lower performers. And and I'm not saying it's because of the condition that his son is dealing with and that family's dealing with. It's that it's not expected in his wheelhouse of content. And so I don't necessarily worry about YouTube as an income stream for me anymore, because the website's doing that for us to put food on the table. But that's a big part of the advertising and marketing. So
sure, but
even
if somebody tells you it's good luck to give them a hug, there's only one way to find out, dude.
That's true. That's true.
Well, and
yeah, just test the waters.
And that's kind of the thing. And this kind of delves more into just social media in general, and not necessarily if it's good or bad, but just how the algorithms work. Is
True.
People are going to gravitate towards a lot of videos of yours that are showing production, and like I go to YouTube, like, hey, how do I do this? And I try and find the video that shows me how to do it.
Right.
I think that there's a really big difference between the value that it brings to your overall brand and showing who you are and like building up the community and building up your brand versus video performance, like a video's performance on YouTube. Like it's two totally different metrics.
Sure.
So,
well, to be quite frankly, I'm going to add this to the next video. The next video I'm producing, I'm working on it now, is, basically I have a thumbnail made where, you see first year sales, second year sales, third year sales, and they've doubled every year, right? And it's basically how a small business can double their sales every year, 5 essential tips kind of thing. And the 5th tip is that failure is a massive option, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to be it. And I probably will now go a little bit more into why that is instead of just that it is. And so this was good to have this talk, seriously. So that's I think I'll open up a little more about it in that video, which will be coming out in about a week or so. So that's cool. Yeah, very good.
You can't see the Instagram comments, but I mean, there's just a ton of support here for the story as well. So it's, I think people want to hear it.
Thank you guys, whoever you are. I appreciate it.
But here we go. Next year's video is going to be how a small business can double every single year in revenue. And then it's going to show like absolutely tanking off. And it's like this moment right here. This is when I went on Sawdust Talk and it all went to shit.
Whatever, dude.
You don't
Your
put
career
that
makers
bad
and
juju
career
on
killers.
him, Ricky Bobby. That's not how this works.
It's a reverse manifestation. No, it's gonna be great. It's been great watching you grow, because I remember seeing your videos, early on, and that's one thing that has been kind of crazy, like joining into the community and growing, is I'll see people and be like, I remember watching that video like 3 years ago. I know this person, Drew Witt. I mean, we both love giving Drew just tons of shit, but I remember seeing early Drew Witt videos and be like, this guy's a huge YouTuber. And then I looked and he was, now he's a big YouTuber.
He had like 19,000 subs. I'm like, what the frick? I don't get
it. Now he's up to
80,
75, 80,000.
Yeah. He just posted that Dallas, Texas Stadium holds as many subscribers as he has.
Hey, look, everybody needs a metric.
Like, I was gonna send something back like, well, I could fill 3 or 4 of them things, but only 1% of those people are watching my stuff right now, so it's okay.
But the community in general is, I think that it's, if nothing else, it's a great way to get support and inspiration. And I think you can't fail if failure is not an option. I think that's inspiration. I think a lot of people need to understand is because you're right. A lot of people do have the cushion of, well, failure is kind of an option.
Correct. A lot of people do. I mean, I get that. I mean, the one thing that is the crazy part is that failure is not an option because no one's, I'm the only one that can work, basically. That's kind of how it works. But it goes beyond that, man. Like every meal, every grocery, every errand, everything. Like everything is done by me. And so, like, I tell some friends, and I'm like, what would you do, man, if like your wife just said, okay, I'm still going to be here, but I'm not going to drive no more. And they'd be like, oh, I don't know what I would do. It's so crazy because, like, what happens is you're able to just kind of go through what your normal is, right? And it's different for every people. And I tell you, man, I'm not trying to get too philosophical, but I live every day with this one crazy thought, and it basically is this. I once felt really sorry because I saw a little poor girl with no shoes walking around with no shoes until I saw a little girl with no feet. Right. And so that moment, right? Like we might not have shoes on, but we're still here. She's still here. I can still talk to her. She's still around. Like the kids are loving and beautiful. And yeah, they're challenging. Yeah, they're 8 years old, 7 years old, and they're still in diapers, and I get all that. And that's crazy enough in some people's minds. But to me, it's become what normal is. You know, son's out there yelling and screaming like crazy. I have people, friends over. They're like, "How are you even like watching TV?" I'm like, "I don't hear it anymore." Like, it's just one of those things. This is a deep episode, guys. Tell me.
It's good. Again, these are big shares, bro. Like, thank
Yeah.
you.
And yeah, no problem. I mean, I almost need to talk about it too. I go through most days, you know, where before in my career, you know, at one point, I remember one time I had a crew of like 27 people, which was pretty big, but that wasn't typical. Typically, you know, 15 to 12 to 15 to 17 people that you make schedules for and run a department with and do all that. That was all kind of fun. But social butterfly with customers, you're just around people all the time. Can't ever get alone. And then immediately I punched out one day and retired from that business, and I became a hermit. And so it's such a strange shift, and doing things like this is good for sure. In fact, I try to have maker meetups when I can, which are nice. Which I need to do another one before the weather gets hot again. But
You want to get away from your humidity and come taste some Midwestern humidity. I think
man,
we got something cool in the works.
we would love to move. Honestly, we're in Jacksonville, Florida. We would love to be like, you know, in the foothills of Tennessee or something like that. You know, maybe at the base of the Appalachians somewhere. That'd be kind of nice. Maybe, or I don't know, maybe even up in there. Maybe just go to Beach Mountain, or Sugar Mountain up in North Carolina or something. I don't know, but I can work anywhere. I can build a shop anywhere. You know, I can do this from anywhere. So that's kind of a cool thing. And the kids can go to any, you know, special school anywhere really. So, but we got older parents that aren't going to move, and we're not leaving them. So
Yeah,
it's just,
no, older parents are good.
yeah, they're definitely a good ear too. And my dad's a great ear for me.
Wonderful.
So all good, man.
So you gave us about 2 minutes ago a pretty dang good quote about shoes and feet.
Yeah, sure.
We are unfortunately reaching the end of our 1 hour.
No worries.
And at the end of every episode, I have this wonderful habit of asking our guests to give a motivational thought, a quote, a reason to kick open the door to your shop. And after today's conversation, we know your why, bro, and it's wonderful. I'm so glad that you were willing to share that with us. But what would you like to tell the boys and girls at home tuning in on various methods of listening to you? Why are they going to kick open their shop doors? Why are they going to make a mess? Why are they going to pick up a tool? What do you got?
So why they're going to do that? Let's just start with, like, I know it's kind of cliche to quote Henry Ford, but it's one people don't necessarily know about. People think, oh, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. We get all that one. But there's an interesting one about why I continue to make these type of strange niche products that I think people want. And the quote I'm going to bring up to him by him is, if I would have asked the general consumer what they wanted back when I was doing my thing, they would have told me they wanted faster horses. And so it kind of makes you think, yeah, you can do something. I'm not saying a freaking Baltic birch anything. This is revolutionary as an assembly line for a car. But my closing thought would be is that just because you think an idea in your head might be kind of far-fetched and you think, it's really not gonna, man, go do it. The reason that it's far-fetched is because it hasn't been tried, probably. And the reason it hasn't been tried is because other people have had the same thought. And if you're thinking to yourself the same thing that they're doing, someone else is going to buck that trend and beat you to it. So basically, you know, if not you, then who? Yeah, and if not when, but now. So like, do it right now and figure it out. Don't, and again, you're going to come to an area of a crossroads like I did. It happens to people where you're going to have to pull the cellophane off a CNC and dive into something that can be polarizing, and you can't listen to the negative majority of people. And I haven't. And I've kept going on about this, and it's been hugely uplifting. So don't worry about faster horses. Do something different and go forward with that crazy idea you have in your head.
I love it.
I'm going to be honest. I was hoping that you were going to just pop out the Henry Ford quote of, hey, you can have this in any color you want as long as that color is black.
Yeah, we make these things on our CNC anything you want as long as it's Baltic birch.
As long as it's Baltic birch or maple quarter-inch ply. True.
Well, before we wrap up, we want to thank again our sponsors, Surf Prep Sanding and George Supply Co. They're fantastic. They help us do this so that we don't have to worry. We can basically just sit here and have conversations like this. So we really appreciate their help. Cool. You keep talking about like foam sanding paper and sanding stuff, and I just keep wanting to be like, hey, have you tried one of these? But that feels like a bit of a pitch. Actually, Hannah would love that, so there we go.
Yeah, Hannah, if you're listening, I remember we were in talks a year or so ago about getting the vacuum in, and I still haven't seen it, but it's okay. You know, it's all good.
We'll corner
see you down at Workbench Con, and who knows, maybe we'll have some tricks up our sleeve and some wackiness to participate in.
Hey, why not?
But so much for big shares, opening up, talking to us like buddies, and that's what this whole community is all about.
100%, man. 100%. Thanks for having me on, man.
Chris, where can everybody find you? Where can they buy your stuff?
So A Glimpse Inside, just search that on YouTube. You'll find the channel. If you Google A Glimpse Inside, it's the first thing that pops up. We actually have a Google store there, storefront, and you can leave a review. So this is crazy. It's aglimpseinside.org, but on Google, we got over 100 reviews now. I think all of them are 5-star, which is fantastic. And every person that reviews something, they go into a pool. So there's only 110 people in that pool, but every month we draw from those names and give them $100 to the store. So it's probably the best ratio of what you can be drawn for to win anything for free from us. So a Google review would be hugely helpful. And so that's it. Glimpseinside.org and the Glimpse Inside on YouTube. There you go.
4 stars. Great product. 80% sanded.
I will hunt you down. Where are you at? Omaha.
I'm coming to you here in like 6 weeks, so I'll wait until after.
Okay.
But,
sounds good. Appreciate it.
Well, hey, thank you again for being on. I mean, that was great. So love getting to chat with you. So
hey, I mean, name the channel's A Glimpse Inside, man. I might as well live up to that. So
yeah, hey, we got the glimpse inside. We pulled back the curtains. So exactly. I do feel the need to point out to all of our listeners that we are not licensed therapists and we have no idea what we're talking about. So just for insurance reasons.
Do we have to say that? Yeah,
I think we have to.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I mean, our insurance is bad, and by bad I mean non-existent. So,
right,
do it or don't.
Yeah, you're covered by the limited liability of a DBA.
So, all right.
That's
well,
great.
Everybody that's still live, thanks for hanging out with us for an hour. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
See you guys.